it has backfired on them because it has given the people of the world an opportunity to talk to each other and to discover bridges. Yes, and to discover information for the most part that has always been held back from the public.
That's a fact.
Anyway, back to the
Can you repeat the name of Carlos and Frederick, please? Let's start with them again so we can get the spelling.
Yeah. They would say some would say Carolus, but Carlos, they would say Carlos Linnaeus. That was a double N. And just speak it in your speaker and you'll get a little bit of history on him.
Okay.
And Frederick Johann Blumenbach. That's a B-A-C-K, H, yeah.
Blumenbach.
Now, they dealt with the phenotype operations to create the psychology paradigm of race, which was to be used for social control. So remember, that's 1700s, and it doesn't go back. So when you see scholars start talking about the racism and they go back beyond that, you already know that they're not being honest with the people.
Right.
No different than when you're dealing with the animal husbandry training by design for dumbing down conquered people, and particularly people of what you call the ancient Phoenici, Canaanite, Moabite tribes, particularly in the Maghreb, which is known as the Americas, etc.
Maghreb. What about those in the Levant?
Yeah, yes. And this is one of the reasons why they have always used that term, and I know people have heard that term, where the hybrid Europeans would refer to the psychosis of separating Egypt from Africa. And people who didn't understand it would say, how could they lift up Egypt and move it away from Africa? Because they're thinking geography in their mind, and really is the mind of the people not knowing that America, or what they call America, is part of Egypt, ancient.
Right.
And they're really not separate. And this is, again, why they've always promoted that self-hatred, that when some of the information would come out, a lot of our own people would get angry as soon as you say that they have any African descent. That's part of the mind control system. So they don't know.
I'm sorry. Can you expound on that just a bit?
All right. Lower Tennessee and Kentucky area is really known as Lower Egypt.
Yes, indeed. It's been noted.
Yeah, this is why they don't allow the common people to enter those tunnels except in limited areas. Another dynamic is why they disallow the general public altogether to go into what you call any deep entries into the Grand Canyon.
Yes, that is off limits.
Because they will find more so-called ancient Hikupta, because remember, Egypt is a modern term for Hikupta. That's where you get Ptah from.
Yes.
The actual name of Egypt is Hikupta, and it includes here. And so they don't want people to know about the Great Super Devere, where what you refer to Tameri, or what you refer to as Kemet, where the northern part of what they call Africa in modern times actually was at the Gulf of Mexico.
The Yucatan Peninsula?
Yeah, absolutely. And they will refer to it in their rewritten history as the continental shift.
Right.
Or continental drift, and also called Pangea.
Right.
Or the sinking of Mu and Atlantis. The ancient ones here refer to it as the cocoa plate shift. And so you're talking about compound thousands of years ago. And our people have been here then and before. Fact. So when they tell the people the reconstructed history of the so-called black diaspora, that's totally reconstructed. And for the most part, Not that there haven't been servitude trade among tribes and stuff like that. That's true, but very limited. 99% of the people who are descended here are the people of the land. They're really Al-Moroccans. Means descendant or coming down or descended down from, and Moroccan is a short for the Canaanite, Moabite, ancient tribes, etc. And this is why some people, when they start doing research, they start discovering the foundations of certain philosophies, and they trace it back to the Kabbalistic and Sabian Moors. And this is where they get Saba, or the name Saba, or the word Saba, and seven from. It's actually from themselves. And this is why a lot of people think, because of the reconstructed history, they'll say, "Oh, we're really Hebrew." No, Hebrew is a dialectical corruption of the word Ibri, which means those who cross the river.
Right. You always taught us that.
It's not a people, it's an action.
Right.
And it had to do with the Super Devere, the great Super Devere, or what is referred to in Septuaginta and in Asiatic, and this, you got to always remember Asiatic Africa. People, when they say Africa and they don't say Asia too, they're misdirecting the people's minds. Because we peopled the planet.
Right.
All right. And so a lot of things that they will talk about coming from Africa, that's a directed misnomer. Much of what they've been told is actually reversed from here to the other side. If
That's
you get the point.
Yes,
they
yes.
know that, but that's referred to as one of the great Masonic secrets, never to be told, under the threat of death. And this is why all secret societies, whether you see them hybrid Europeans, whether in Russia, whether in China, whether in Africa or Kemet today, or in South America, all of them in their chambers wear the Moorish fez.
Yes, they do.
And this is also, and this includes a lot of our honored leaders that are people considered leaders, including Elijah Muhammad, Farrakhan, Jesse, Martin. All of them in secret had fezzes. Now, logically, they know that if they say things like we're talking openly, that most of them would get thrown out of their own houses.
Oh, that's a violation of the oath.
Because the mentality of the people.
Right.
And, no different than, like, say, for instance, for those who are like 5%ers, gods and earth, they know about Clarence, but they don't know about Clarence and the supreme wisdom and his participation in the Nation of Islam, which was also the Temple of Allah, and also with Il Malik, Malcolm, and also why they broke off, and also why they were murdered. Even Brother Khalid, when he started telling the people some of the supreme wisdom and started leaking out that these people are Moors, all of a sudden, you know what happened to him in New York.
Right.
All right.
I think it was in Atlanta.
Yeah. Pardon me, Atlanta, but I'm just saying, you know where I'm coming from. When he made those statements in New York.
Right. They put the mark on the target on him.
Exactly, because that's called the Great Masonic Secret.
Right.
Because once they know that, they start digging up history, they'll start finding out that most of the things that they've been told are false, reconstructed, and many of the people that they've trusted as leaders are actually COINTELPRO operatives. Difficult for them to accept that, but that is the reality. Now, getting back to the point of the black codes, the Christian black codes come from Codes Noir 1620, which is French, of the Franciscan Brotherhood, that deals with a lot of the dynamics of the Slavic, some of the Slavic Germanic tribes that were conquered by the Red Russians. And this is where you get the word slave from. Slave is an identity. It's not a condition. But you already know it's for reconstructed purposes and controlling the narrative. They told the people it's a condition and that it's a name that applies to Moors who were named who were branded Negro, Black, Colored, and Indian, and saying that that's the identity of such persons when actually it's the nationality of the Europeans. Now, this is the other deal. Black is derived from Middle English, and which is derived from Old High German, and has its existence in linguistic forms 1150 to the 1700 area. It has no ancient origin, and it's from Old High German, and it means beluga, white spot, black, blaine, blanco, etc., and actually means pale colors. That's what it means.
The word is thought to have its roots over 4,000 years ago in Proto-Indo-European. That's the language that's our best guess at where the Indo-European languages originated. Some etymologists believe its origins are in the Proto-Indo-European bleg. I don't actually know exactly how you're supposed to say that. One of the meanings of which is to do with burning. The later Proto-Germanic word blackas also meant burnt. What colour are things when they're charred and burnt? They're black. Black also shares its origins with another English word, blanc, which we get from the French word blanc. But hold on a second. Blanc in French means white. So what's going on there then? So the old Germanic folk who were using the word black or something like it had a decisiveness problem. They all agreed that black meant burnt, but not on what burnt looked like. There was one camp that said it was the bright white colour of burning embers, and another that said it meant the dark, charred blackness of the aftermath. So the English ended up with black meaning black, and the French got black meaning white, but in the form of blanc. When English then took blanc from the French, they turned it into blank, and also developed the word bleach as well, meaning white. And then we also got the word bleak, which I don't know, to me is more of a dark word. Well, I don't know anymore. There's a danger of us falling down an etymological black hole.
Now, for control purposes of trading places, this is why in 1854 at the Knights of Columbus Ku Klux Klan Oath Convention here at Philadelphia with the Whiggamore Party, which consists of the Cotton Whigs and the Conscience Whigs, and this is where the hybrid Europeans would wear wigs dealing with jurisprudence and history and philosophy, pretending to be Moors. That's why they called Whiggamores, because they would wear curly wigs to imitate the Moors.
Yes, the Whiggamores.
Yes, that's it, right here in Philadelphia. And then, you know, in when they had their convention in 1854, this is one of the around the area in time cycle when Horace Greeley, who was a New York newspaper tycoon, came into the party, and this is when they decided to take on the noble title of, or the law title of sovereign of the land due to colonial operations here. And this is when they took on the title white. And our people who don't know, the scholars know, you know they know, but you already know they've made their finances promoting the black paradigm, knowing that our people aren't black, not only in the fact that they're not black as an identity, but not tell them the truth that black actually means pale colors.
Right.
And our people have adopted it and agreed to the Christian black codes. And then when the codes are enforced on them, they want to get mad and march all over the place. And everybody makes finance off them, including their so-called black leaders that keep marching them around on their own land and not telling the truth. There's another reason why they got rid of Il Malik when he made the Hajj, and it was a blue-eyed French Muslim that schooled him. Don't come over here with that black and white language, that's slave language, etc. He said, to you, Maghreb is evening salah, as it is with many Muslims around the world. However, Maghreb is North America, Morocco, the most extreme West. You should know better. And of course, that created some problems. And as you already know, before he came back to the North, he set up two organizations. Yes, and at that time, you know, he became a threat to the system. So you already know they were going to get rid of him.
Yes.
And also the same thing with Martin when he got frustrated, because he was a 33-degree Mason. And when that European smacked him aside the head with a brick, he said something must be wrong with these people. And he made the statements along the line that our people are refugees in their own land.
Yes, he did.
All right, he broke his Masonic oath. Because our people aren't supposed to know that they're Aboriginal. Not just indigenous, they're Aboriginal. That means they're first people. And this is why they won't explain to people that Aboriginal comes before indigenous. Because they don't want people to know that we're the real Almoracans, or what is referred to as the real Americans. So these has much to do with the social engineering and why so much emphasis is put on the Christian black codes, and why so many people are paid among our own to keep promoting the Christian black codes under the Jesus paradigm, and under that being a genetic identity of Asiatic African people, knowing it's false, knowing that it puts the people under the codes. This is again why sometimes Europeans will get frustrated when our people start knocking them, for mistreating us, and say, y'all should go ahead, go after your so-called black leaders that keep helping putting you all back into slavery. And we get mad and start calling them racist and stuff like that, and they're actually telling the truth. So as a front, that's what I have to say about black.
Indeed. I want to also ask you, when they say that black in the eyes of the law means death.
That's what it means. Now, so they're not talking at that point, they're not talking etymology.
Right.
They're talking social engineering.
Right.
All right. So that would come under this, also referred to as civil liter mortuus.
Right.
So everyone write that down. Civil liter mortuus. It means not physically dead, but dead in the view of the law. This is why it has always been said in legal and law terms that no white man has any obligation to respect any alleged rights of any black man. And our people would take it personally, not knowing that that actually is true, because they think that white and black are genetics of what they've been trained as race, not knowing that they're statuses. This is again why they do not teach positive law jurisprudence to our people. It's why they remove etymology books from the school systems in order to support connotative linguistic mind control, which is introduced into the training venues that our people refer to as the General Education Board, Frederick T. Gates and John D. Rockefeller, 1902. After they murdered Winona here at Philadelphia, that they refer to as Lover's Leap, that people come around the world to look at, and our people think it's a place for lovers, and that's where they murdered Winona. Then they put a statue of Tammany with Aquila on his shoulder at the entrance to the boulevard down there at Broad Street.
Brother Ross Ben came on the show and he broke that down, and we actually showed the statues that depict the ritual of, Chief Tammany. Yeah. The way that they got Philadelphia set up Masonically to basically have a Masonic conversation through the artwork.
Exactly. That's why that Frenchman, remember a couple years ago, the Frenchman bought the oil painting on wood that has been displayed at the art museum, which was really a mound. You know that, we know that, but a lot of the people here don't know that because they're not supposed to know that. Not under the black codes, they're not supposed to know that. Right. And a Frenchman bought that a couple years ago to stop our people from reproducing it. Remember, used to be able to go around and people who were selling art and stuff would sell pictures of the Moorish chieftain.
Yes. And
you notice that in the last few years, you don't see them paintings around anymore.
You do not.
There's very few of them.
Can you get into the Mums Parade?
The Mummers Parade, remember the Mummers Parade is a celebration of the fall of the Moors.
That's right.
Now, and so you see with all of their troops, that's why they would all wear bright colors, turbans, feathers in their bands and stuff like that. And originally they would do it in what they refer to as blackface.
Right.
And then they would put dark makeup on. And then also that also relates to what they call the Boston Tea Party, where they imitated us to throw the tea over.
Yes, yes.
Well, you already know about that. But
Indeed.
the deal is they assemble at 6, keep in mind the number, and because it's a very small area, but all the troops of Kaiklos, i.e. Clan, Kaiklos, and the Mummers would assemble at 6 and Moore Street. That's where they assemble. Then they march westward, and this is where you get the term from Horace Greeley, "Go west, young man." That's where that term come from.
Yes.
Then they go to Broad Street, make a right angle, the square, and they march northward at Juniper, 13th Juniper area, where the lodge that George Washington closed, that was the last lodge that he closed, right there in Philadelphia. And they'd stop and make judgment at the great battleground, where they have Cornwallis and them on a horse in front of the parapet of City Hall that's designed exactly like a mosque.
Yes.
And the North Gate parapet would be facing the Grand Lodge that George Washington closed. And you know, and we know that he was the 9th president or praetor for the Roman operations of the West, and not the first praetor. He was the 9th praetor, and it was he who started dividing the estates and the Bonnevilles of the Moors into what is known now as the states. They're really territorial estates of the Moors of the land, etc. And so it's necessary for them to reconstruct the history, etc., in order to mold the minds of the people. And this is again why they covered up the walls of what they call Independence Hall. You know, you've been in this area, so you already know that they covered up the walls and covered up old art and old maps in Independence Hall. And you also know why they did the double movie here called National Treasure.
Right.
And they sought the old missing coin with the Great Seal Pyramid, all that symbolic. And then they talk about the hidden tunnels under Philadelphia, etc. Well, you already know that. We don't need to go into that, but that's all connected to the Mummers Parade.
What about the Dante's Gates of Hell?
Same principle.
Okay.
And you already know there's a tunnel that actually goes through the water to the Delaware, right from the Rouse building. And then you know